Okay. How does this work? Sorry, y'all. It's been a minute since I've actually done a live stream from a computer. And I don't know what I'm doing. Show chat. That's what I wanted to see. There we go. I want to be able to hear myself. Like a couple notes away. Yo, I'm blocking the chat with this camera. So I'm gonna slightly scoot it over. Scoot the camera over. Hopefully it doesn't mess up my frame. Let me shift my frame over. How about that? Yo, Stabbing Serenade is a crazy name. I grew up listening to a lot of it, but not anymore. I'm more of a R&B, neo-soul type of guy now. But I did grow up listening to a lot of metal. I wish I could remember the name. Stricken, I want to say is. It's your solo project name. Solo project, do you mean solo project as if you are a solo musician, or solo project as in that's the name of the album separate from the band? Are you a guitarist yourself too? Come on, Jakarta. I love meeting people from different nations on the live streams. I feel like that's one of the best things. I'm in the United States. Yeah. Gospel style playing is what I also tend to do a lot, and they do a lot of like they do a lot of tight style, you know what I'm saying? Bluesy but tight, if that makes sense. All day? I don't know about all day. You must have not been watching guitar all day. You have an album, yes, and you play 8-string on your albums. 8-string. Does it add a string both directions? So is it ever good? I mean, 88 Dynamite good by Eddie, and then a fourth above that? Or is it only going lower and it adds low notes? So B string, and then whatever below the B string is. Like, how does the 8-string guitar work? Thank you so much for the subscriptions. You have an album, yes, and you play 8-string of your albums. The album is called Darkest Shadows. I gotta check out the album. See, my brother is the lead singer of a rock band in Minnesota, and I listen to rock music from time to time. Oftentimes, it's a complete shift of what I'm usually listening to, which changes. I feel like that you gotta switch up your natural vibe sometimes so that you're just not stuck being the same thing, doing and listening to the same thing over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? Stevie ain't got nothing on Paul Neal. Shout out to Stevie, though. Thank you so much. I don't have any choice but to keep it up, if you know what I mean. I didn't pick a plan B. I'm only sticking with guitar, so. That's the volume knob that I was looking for. Volume knob's all the way up. Oh. Major. That's pretty. Clean my camera. That's just the I want to say that's just the blurriness from the what you call that thing? Portrait mode. Turning portrait mode all the way off. Turn it all the way up. Is that the blurriness? Plus, it's just bright too. Like I'm not all up on the camera. I feel like if I'm on the camera, it looks better. Plus, you know, like light blurs and stuff like that. I can still wipe it off though. We can see what happens when I wipe it off. Let me use this rag. Oh, I'm looking a little clean now. Okay, good call. Appreciate you. I thought that was just the light. This is why you get the big bills. Corbs, you're a real one. Oh, there it goes. Are there any guitarists in the chat right now? Are there any guitarists watching the live? Or anybody that wants to play guitar, anybody that wants to learn guitar. I'm here to talk about guitar. If y'all got questions about guitar, know anything about guitar, I would like to have a discussion. This is something that I love. One thing about me, I am a guitar educator. I've been teaching guitar for about 3 years now. Where did I learn to play? You've been looking for lessons, but not much of luck. So I've been playing all my life. I actually started learning from my brother. He is about 4 years older than me. And whenever parents get their young children involved in something, the youngest child usually has to do everything that the oldest child is doing, if that makes sense. So he decided to take music lessons when he was young. And my mom didn't sign me up for lessons, so anything that he learned, I had to learn. And my brother knew from a young age he wanted to be a rock star, so I was learning rock music on a little acoustic guitar. I had an acoustic guitar, and I was sitting there playing the classics, of course, you know what I'm saying? But I was a kid. I didn't really know much about guitar. I didn't know much about music. I was in the band, though, so I did a lot of band things, playing trombone and marching band and classical music and things of that nature. But anything that I learned in band, I usually translate it to other instruments. So if I learned how to play hot cross buns, I'd be playing hot cross buns on piano, on guitar, on trombone, on trumpet, on tuba, on saxophone, on anything I can get my hands on recorder, on a slide whistle. Yeah, I got a slide whistle in the room. We're not going to talk about that though. But in 2016, I decided to take it serious, And I actually decided to study guitar at university, at Tennessee State University to be more specific, in Nashville, Tennessee, in the middle of the U.S., southern middle south of the United States of America. And they still had me studying classical, a little bit of jazz, and I gravitated towards anything that I could find. So I compiled a lot of resources. I compiled a lot of resources within my time. So if you're looking for resources on like how to learn specific things of guitar, or like just learn overarching guitar, things of that nature, let me know. I can get you situated. You can email me, contact@paulneilmusic.com. That's the name of my channel name, Paul Neil Music, but contact@paulneilmusic. Mm. I'm gonna add some delay. I should have did. That would have made more sense. Let's do. Played the wrong chord. There it goes. Regular. High. Now that's a chord walk down. I'm a fan. Half diminished chords. People do not use those, but it's used in a lot of songs. Like Music Soul Child wrote a song, Love. I think that's the right key. No, that's the right key. So many things I've got to tell you, but I'm afraid I don't know how. 'Cause there's a half diminished possibility that you look at me differently, love. Another half diminished right there before it goes to a major 7. That's pretty like the most beautiful transition in my opinion. Because all the top notes stay the same. These notes stay there, but the bass note goes down. Chords. You said you've played other instruments, so you have a pretty good understanding of notes. You also have a guitar and always wanted to play, but struggle with the transition between chords. Any tips? So that's one of the most difficult aspects of guitar, transitioning between notes when you're playing chords. Um, there's two ways that I like to think about it in order to improve this skill. I like to think about it in a manner of guitar is one big video game, and with any video game, you have to understand the hand-eye coordination of it. Like Xbox is not the same thing as Nintendo Switch. It's not the same thing as PlayStation. It's not the same thing as Wii. It's not the same thing as PSP. So, you have to truly get used to the hand-eye coordination that it takes when it comes to moving your fingers. And people have a lot of different exercises when it comes to that, such as like a chromatic exercise. Now, this isn't chord based, but it still requires you to move your fingers. So imagine I'm putting down 4 fingers and I leave my index finger here. Now my fingers are stretching all the way in order to finish that exercise. I could do the same thing, leaving my middle finger still. Now my fingers are getting used to ways that I'm not getting used to moving in ways that I've never really programmed them to move before, because in our day-to-day living, we're using our non-dominant hand very little, especially the fingers of that hand. But for guitar, our non-dominant hand is our fretting hand, and we have to use it in ways that we're not used to doing. So little exercises like that can go a far way. I've seen people even anchor their fingers down and how do I explain it? Just move one finger at a time, like the pinky finger, while all 3 of my other fingers are anchored down. So imagine all 3 of my fingers, and I'm going to zoom in on the camera, that way you can see it however I can. Boom. Good little zoom. So right now I have 3 fingers anchored down on the 3rd string, but I'm moving my pinky on the top string and the bottom string. That definitely helps you to get used to moving your fingers in ways. I did the same thing with my ring finger. I'm doing the same thing with my middle finger. I'm doing the same thing with my index finger. And it just like wakes up. Sam, the man, how you living? It wakes up your brain in order to just connect the dots of how to move your fingers. Don't forget to do hand stretches. You know what I'm saying? And when I do hand stretches, I pull a finger back but move the other ones. That way they're still actually being engaged, and it helps stretch out the fingers more than you would even imagine. So with that being said, hand stretches, moving your fingers in different ways, they help you get used to coordinating your fingers. Now, if you want to actually improve switching from chords, the best way to do it is switching chords. And one thing that I always like to tell my students, chords are when you play more than one note at the same time. So you don't necessarily need to play all 6 strings to another chord of all 6 strings. Like, you don't have to play full chords all the time. But even if you do, what chord's that? So let's see. Even if you are playing those type of chords, you have to figure out the easiest route for you. So sometimes that might just be playing just the high pitch E string, or the top 3 strings. I wouldn't say the high pitch E string. So you got string 1, 2, and 3. And then if you're switching chords, I'm still putting all of my fingers down to play these switches. I'm still putting all of my fingers down, but that way it's not getting in the way of my thought process of how to switch these chords. But I'm not focused on playing all 6 strings. I'm minimizing it to only playing a certain amount of strings at a time. That way I'm piecemealing at it, and I can see which finger moves where. That's a big aspect. So if you can minimize your finger movement by playing a different positioning or a different finger setup in order to play a chord, do that as well. Like, most people play a G chord with these 3 fingers, fingers 1, 2, and 3. They got finger 2 on the low pitch E string, finger 3 on the high pitch E string, and their index finger on the 2nd fret of A. Sometimes you need to try to do it without your index finger at all. And if I were to go back to talk about those chromatic warm-ups, oftentimes I like to do those without using my index finger either, because it really challenges your non-dominant hand to wake up and use fingers that you're not used to using whatsoever. in ways that you're not used to using it. So like your pinky on your left hand is like the dumbest finger that we have. So doing stuff like that, I promise you, it'll just like change your entire perspective of how your hand is able to move or how your fingers are able to move. But yeah, again, if y'all need some resources though, I do have a lot of resources. Like I even put together like this checklist that has a bunch of like foundational skills or like reading and theory-based skills or playing techniques or like scales and chords. Just leave a comment and let me know that you want these things, and I'll be over to send it over to you. That way you can practice and figure out what makes a guitarist good. And you got to know these things in order to go from like the foundational knowledge to truly getting better at guitar, if that makes sense. But if y'all have any other questions, feel free to ask. I'm like an open book when it comes to this. How good am I at lead guitar on a progression of A, C, G, and D? How would I phrase my soloing over that? So A, C, G, D. It depends on how you're looking at this. All of those can be major chords. That's wrong. A, C, G, D. A, C, G, D. Correct me if those are all major chords or not, because that would affect my phrasing when it comes to this. And let me tilt this camera slightly down because it's slightly too high up. There we go. But a big way for me to phrase my soloing over that is to figure out all the different ways that I could play these exact same chords. Because right now I'm playing all of them as if they're open string chords. But I don't have to play them right there. Here's A, here's the closest C, here's the closest G, and here's the closest D chord. Any progression in general. Okay, so I could do any progression. I'm going to still use your example, A, C, G, and D. If you know where all of those different chords are, it really just wakes you up to see how you can connect different lines. Like, let's say we were using A major as our first chord. I could do the A major pentatonic. And it takes me to a whole different A shape, which allows me to see a whole bunch of different ways that I can play. I would even say any melodic line, because now I'm not just restricted to playing the pentatonic shape in the main pentatonic box that I'm used to playing, but I can really see, okay, well, if this is an A, here's another way of finding an A. And if I have a lick that I like in that area, I can find another area that can have different licks, but I can still play the same lick. And it really just opens up my mind to see all of the different connections. And once you can do that and figure out how one chord shape is very close to another chord shape, like how you said we're going from A major to C major, those have notes that are shared. If you look at A major, the fifth note of A major is an E, which is also the third note of C major. So if I was using A and I wanted to keep those lines similar, and I'm soloing, I would want to stop on an E somewhere. That way I can go to that C chord. Then it ends on G. You said a G chord is next. That would be, G chord is right here. This is G. I should listen to the chord progression. Oh. A major, C major, G major. That would have taken me to the fifth if I were able to do that. My signal chain. Well, I'm using a line 6 pod go. So I'll tell you the signal chain that's pulled up in this one specifically as soon as I'm able to finish talking about the connecting of chords and the connecting of scales and the connecting of phrases. Oftentimes, though, one main way that I like to connect all of these phrases, I really just sing over the chord progressions. I sing or I whistle, and it just makes sense to me in order to really even connect the dots, if that makes sense. So if I'm listening to a progression, like the one that you said, A to the C to G to D, that reminds me of who's this, Lenny Kravitz? I want to get away. Ain't that I wanna fly away? Ain't those notes? But just connecting the dots of whatever scales. Oftentimes, I often pin things to just connecting the chords. Once you can connect the chords, you can connect the scales, if that makes sense. Because you can find what notes are similar, and you could play melodic phrases that keeps those similar notes in the same zone, and then it just really clicks. I've been showing y'all some stuff though, so hopefully you think that it's still skillful. My signal chain specifically right now on this pod go, might be able to show y'all that. Give me one moment. No, I don't think I'm able to show. Let's see. I'm gonna hit. Right now we're looking at my desktop, but I want to make sure that y'all can see settings. That is not settings. Desktop. Where's the settings button? Cool. Applications. I need to open up my pod go edit. That way you can see that signal chain. Oh, I want to get away. I want to fly away. Okay. Let's see if I can bring that in now so that you can see my signal chain. Let's change these settings. One moment. I am almost there. Change Notion to pod go edit, and boom. You can now see my signal chain. Right here, this is a wah pedal, which is not activated right now, but if I activate it, usually it's on the expression pedal instead, and this expression pedal is nothing but a volume pedal right here. So if I'm all the way down, there's no sound, but I can bring the sound in and out. Right here, I have a distortion. This is a Minotaur pedal written by Line 6 Pod Go, but it's not activated. So the main things that are activated, I have delay before the amp. I have the amp. This is a divided duo amp. I have an EQ with slight tweaks to it. There's not much though. For the most part, it's stock and there's no boosts or anything that's gained. But whenever I don't like the tone that's coming out of the speakers, I tweak the EQ. I got a cabinet. This is just a 1x12. The mic that is using on this cabinet. I like this because it allows me to use different microphones on the cabinet. Y'all not able to see that, but it's right there. Boom. These are all of the different microphones that I could use. After the cab, I got a, uh-oh, water just blew out. It said my connection got interrupted. That was weird. After the cabinet, I have a compressor. And it's weird to have a compressor at the end, but I kind of like it. And then at the end, I have reverb. I like the delay going before the amp, though, because it just makes everything sound very luscious and pretty. You know what I'm saying? So that is my signal chain currently on this Line 6 Pod Go. 3B is one of my favorite settings. But if you look right here, all of these, I got a whole bunch of presets that I can play with. But 3B divided duo is usually my go-to because it's a very clean tone. So I'm a huge fan of clean tone, like jazzy things. It tickles my fancy, if you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, though, back at it. Let's look at some of these chats. I hope y'all are talking in the chat as I've been explaining signal chains and whatnots. Any advice on strumming without a pick? I often pretend like I still got a pick in my hand, even if I don't. So, boom, you got the pick in your hand, right? And these are premium Paul Neal picks. They got my logo on them. So I pretend like I got a pick. But you see, if your finger was to cover the pick and you got a fingernail, you can really just strum pretending like you got a pick. That's for strumming melodic stuff. So I still pretend like I have a pick and I allow my nail to use it. My nail doesn't hurt when I do that. But then, I just deal with it. If I'm playing chords, that's all fingernails right there. And I just flick at the strings so that it's not really hurting me. If I were to use the flats of my fingers, it would be a little bit too warm. You know what I'm saying? So nails. And you can still do the same strumming patterns. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down all day long. That makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But those are things that you can do in order to directly correlate playing with a pick to playing without a pick. Now, there are fingerstyle guitars that are very prominent when it comes to knowing how to play specific fingers on specific strings for specific reasons. And this is primarily used in classical guitar, where they put the guitar on their left leg and they're playing with a footrest, and you see them playing like this. They know what their right hand fingers are. So P is the thumb, I is the index finger, M is the middle finger, A is the ring finger. And they know, like, if they're doing specific patterns like P-I-M-A, 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 P-I-M-A. Or if you're only playing three fingers like P-I-M. One of the songs that I learned when I was studying classical is this song. I think the teacher called it Springtime. But it's like an E major study that required fingerstyle, and you had to use your thumbs, your index finger, and your ring finger in a matter of how do you say it? Free strokes. Rest strokes would be as if you're resting your finger on the previous string. As you see, my thumb moves to the previous string and it stays on it. Free strokes is if you pluck it and just let your finger fly in the air. So see how I just ended and my fingers were floating. So this song, what does we call it? Springtime. This was something to help me practice my right hand, even though it still sounded pretty musical. I'm going to turn the tone down and play it. And it's exposing that I'm not fully in tune. I'm good at tune. But with that, I was focusing, although I was playing a lot of notes with my right hand, I was using one finger with my left hand. I was using one finger with my left hand because I was focusing on the right hand. I was using P-I-M, P-I-M, P-I-M. Thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle. And if I'm saying these letters and you're slightly confused as to where these letters come from, they stem from Spanish speaking words when you're talking about the hand or the right hand. And if anybody's Spanish speaking, you can correct me if my pronunciation is horrible. But pulgar is the thumb, P-U-L-G-A-R. Indice, something. Index, I-N-D-I-C-E. Medio is the middle finger. Anular is the ring finger. P, pulgar, I, índice, M, medio, A, anular, PIMA. So it's very beneficial in order for you to know all different aspects of how to play with your fingers. So you could use it like you're holding a pick, or that's better for that's very beneficial for when you are playing like melodic lines of that nature. But when you're playing chords, you can treat it as if you're still holding a pick, but you have a lot more flexibility to flick your fingers around. So it makes it a lot easier in that aspect. And chords, another version of playing chords is by using the fingerstyle approach, where you're using your thumb, index, middle, and ring finger on different strings. Now that does slightly limit you to only playing 4 strings at a time, but it's very pretty when you're able to play songs that only play 4 fingers at a time. And if you think about it, most chords are either triads or 7th chords, 3 notes or 4 notes. So you don't gotta worry about none of that. Anyway, though, back to some of the Q&A. What am I thinking while playing? Is it a chord progression, more or less? I'm thinking the primary melody right now in my mind, because my mind has already dissected so much music, analyzed so much music, that I don't really try to think about what chord do I play? Where do I go from here? This, that, and the fourth. But I'm thinking about a primary melody. Oftentimes in my head, I'm just singing something as I'm walking around and things of that nature. And usually the melody stems from a scale, stems from a key, stems from a certain tonality. And once you know that scale or key, you can apply the chord scale to it. And I don't know if you know about the chord scale, but this is like the make or breaker for you to really learn chord progressions and move as a polyphonic musician. Polyphonic meaning you play more than 1 note at the same time. Now, if you play like horn or something like this, it wouldn't really apply to you. It can apply, but you'd have to think about it in the key or in the sense of open chords. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not able to play more than 1 note at the same time. But for us, we have a chord scale. And if you know the chord scale, all you do is apply the chords that line up with the melody as it relates to the chord scale. So let's say the melody that I decided to pick was I'm just gonna sing something. La da 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 da, la da 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 da. So that first note is a G. That could be 1 note within itself. That melody can apply to so many different chords. Oh, how do I even play that one? That's a pretty one. So it can apply to so many different chords, and that melody is a very incomplete phrase. Once you have a melody, though, oftentimes it relates to a full phrase which completes the sentence. Instead of just saying, "I'll walk down the park," you will want to say, "I'll walk down the park, I ate ice cream, I saw the sunrise." So that could be da 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 da. And that's very similar to Fly Me to the Moon. And any chord technically can work as long as it fits within that melody. But usually the chords that you are learning or the chords that you are using will stem from the chord scale. So once you figure out what your 1 is, what your home is, what your tonic is, then everything else makes sense. So if this was my 1, if this G was my 1, and I wanted to stop there, I'm stopping on the 3. So I can make that my chord. But the 3 is found in the 1 chord. It's found obviously in the 3 chord. It's found in the 7th chord of the scale. So by that I mean the 1 chord, 1, 3, is found in the 3 chord, 3, and it's found in the 7. Well, it's a raised 3 for that one because of the diminished aspects of it. But once you look at it in that regard, you're able to apply the chord scale: major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, half diminished, major. And you can literally just apply whatever scale that or whatever chord that came from the chord scale to your melody, and everything flows from there. Recently, and even when I started this live, I made up this melody. It just came to me one day when I was singing it. But when I heard this, I just assumed that would have been the best chord. And it's in this key. It's in the key of E. And I just applied the chord scale to help me come up with the chords for that melody that I made, if that makes sense. But oftentimes I'm not really thinking about what chord do I play, what do I do with that, because I've mastered the chord scale. So if I could hear the melody, or even better, if I could hear the bass line, I'm just applying the major, minor, diminished, whatever chord is applied to that specific note that we're playing, if that makes sense. So it gets very thorough, and it takes a lot of study, but the journey to a mile began with a step, if that makes sense. So just keep going. You'll make it make sense eventually. And eventually we'll be able to all connect the dots of how this luscious instrument truly makes sense. Let's keep going. Do I know any Jeff Buckley? Now, do I know any Jeff Buckley? I don't. Oh, did he write Hallelujah? As I'm just typing in his name. Is this the same Hallelujah that
gives you the power of AI to build the website you need?
I'm listening to the song.
With full business functionality.
Skipping ahead. Oh. That's not Jeff. Sorry, y'all. It's good music, though. Trying to go back. Is this? I thought this was this. This is one of the very first like chord-based songs that I learned on piano and guitar. Oop. So, Hallelujah, Jeff Buckley, great song. Sure, can I play it? I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift, and from the lips you drew the hallelujah. I could probably look more into Jeff Buckley. I don't know much about Jeff, but I like when people give me suggestions because it lets me know what the people know, and then I could do better to relate to the people by knowing what they know. I didn't study Jeff growing up. I did study that song Hallelujah, but when I first learned that song, I heard it in Shrek. I don't know if y'all know the animated movie Shrek. I'm probably just saying my age and my culture. But you know, that's what I grew up doing. So, um, thanking the algorithm for bringing you. Oh yeah, that's love. New sub. Appreciate you, Jeff. Yeah, please subscribe, like, comment. Let me know if you're into guitar. I love teaching guitar. I love talking about guitar. This is what I do for a living. I actually am a high school guitar teacher. The school that I work at has a guitar class. I teach 150 students, roughly, anywhere from 130 to 150 students, acoustic guitar. And they're in there learning simple songs to advanced songs. We even played Beat It to Tadao to 25 or 64. We played all of those things that my students played, and they played it like top tier. And I'm bragging on them because my fiance coming. She just made a whole lot of noise. But yeah, that software that you saw me editing that signal chain on, I'll show you it again just because you just so graciously asked. So let me make sure that the screen mode is screen moding. Boom, going to settings, application capture, yes, but I wanted to show this app is called, why is it not showing? One moment, I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm going to have to close that app and then reopen it. Okay. The app has been closed. Sorry, y'all. I know y'all just looking at a black screen. Cool. The app is reopening. Okay. There goes the app. And this isn't really an app. They do have a desktop version of it. And one moment. Let me close the door. They do have a desktop version of, they do have a desktop version of this, but what this is literally my pedal. This is my Pod Go. Line 6 is the brand, Line 6. They make a lot of amps and things of that nature, but they made a multi-effects rig, which is a multi-effects processor, which is essentially just a pedal board. Actually, I'm finna show y'all my room. What you were looking at is this pedal board right here. As I press on these buttons, like if I were to press on this, y'all see how the wah just activated? This purple one just activated. If I press on it again, now the blue one activated. If I press on this, the yellow is gonna activate and it just pops up. Press it again, it closes. Press on green, put my toe on green. You're looking at my little toesies. Put my toe on green, the green one pop up. So this is literally my pedal. I just have it connected to my computer so that I don't have to make all the tweaks by bending over and twisting knobs. I could literally just do everything on the computer, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just got a little. I'm big into tech. Like I like stuff like that. It's cool, but I usually use this Pod Go whenever I'm traveling. Like I've been flued out. I've had to take flights with my guitar, and it doesn't make sense to fly with an amplifier. They're gonna treat it like it's luggage and throw it all over the plane, and they're just gonna ruin your stuff. So I decided to get this Pod Go because this is technically a pedal board. It doesn't matter what amp it matters what amp I use, but it doesn't really matter if I use an amp. I could just go directly into the house and I have the sound of whatever I'm used to hearing no matter where I am. But if I do use an amp, I still use a modeling amp. Now this Pod Go is technically a digital modeling processor for guitar. It models and emulates guitar sounds. So all of the pedals that this emulates, all the delay pedals and distortion pedals and amps that it's emulating are just Line 6 emulations. It's the digital version of a Line 6 amp or a digital version of a Line 6 pedal instead of having the physical version. So I just saved thousands of dollars of physical gear by getting the digital version instead. Usually digital processing or digital amps, modeling amps, or digital, what do you call these? Multi-effects rigs can run you anywhere from, I would say, about 250 to thousands of dollars, but it just depends on the brand that you get. This one I want to say was about 500. I also use a modeling amp. I have two different modeling amps, the Fender Mustang GTX and the Fender Mustang GT. Both of those are emulating Fender amps. So I usually use like the Fender Twin amp when I'm using that one, even though the Fender Twin amp is coming through my Mustang amp because it's a digitally modeled amp. And that also has an app. I could do a video on all of these digital modeling platforms that I use and how it makes my life easier as a guitarist instead of always using my real Fender Twin heavy amp that I have. So it depends on how you look at it. But I like these things because it makes my life easier. Oh. Yep. So yeah. Yeah, that's a fancy pedal though. Yeah, that is a lot of students. I hear you when you said that is a lot of students. They kind of treat my class like a dumping class. Throw all of them into class. But I'm not a fan, but I'm very grateful because it just exposes people to the life of guitar and the lifestyle of being a musician. And I tell my students all the time, like, I'm treating this teaching job, the teaching aspect of it, like being a teacher, clocking in 8 to 3 every day as my side hustle, while being a musician is my primary passion. Now, teaching y'all music, I love to do it, especially when we can have musical conversations. But when you have me being here just being a babysitter because you're disinterested in learning music, now you're reminding me why I'm treating this like this is my side hustle. But for the students who are genuinely interested in learning guitar, I love them to death. I give them all my attention. I'll come early if they ask me to come early. I'll stay late if they ask me to stay late. And I'll teach them anything that they want to learn. So, yes, I have to be very clear and articulate when talking to my students because they process things in ways that I've never even imagined it. And I ask them to re-explain things back to me so that I understand how they're speaking whenever they're saying things. And oftentimes they find a lot of resources on the internet and just go for it. But yep, that's what I do. And yes, it is slick a dream job because even if they don't want to learn, I still be in there all day long playing my guitar. Yeah. And I did mention I do have amps. I have the Fender Mustang GTX 100 and the Fender. Actually, I know it's a lot of stuff going on. There goes one of my amps right there. That's the one that I usually leave in my classroom. And I have another amp in the front of the house. That's the one that I usually carry around if I decide to use an amp. I also have the Fender Twin Reverb Deluxe. It's the one that has a tremolo built in. That's also at the school. I don't carry that around. Once I got the modeling amps, I was like, why did I even struggle in the past? So yes, I can play around on the drums. I have a digital drum set right there. So if I wanted to get nasty with it, oftentimes I am in here beating on the drum set, but most times I'm not really doing that because I don't really want to. Guitar is my love. Drums is just a hobby, if that makes sense. And thank you all so much for joining the live. Y'all got any other questions? How about this? Y'all can ask me a question about anything related to guitar based off of the list that I pull up. So if any of these concepts tickle your fancy and you want to talk about them, let's talk about it. Any of these concepts. I'm just going to do a little scroll. Could I explain what the numbers mean? Oh, okay. That's a good question, Sam, the man. So when we're talking about chords, usually chords are just a collection of notes, but they stem from the scales. So really all music is the relationship between notes. If I were talking about the scale C, C major scale. C scale is kind of like C being the foundation and everything else is just the order of the notes of how you hear it. Oftentimes when we're looking at scales, we usually associate it by a variation of things. You can look at it from the viewpoint of solfege, which is how singers look at it, and they'll say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Real reading musicians, they like to look at it from the letter names C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. But to keep things simple and very, very, very simple, I like to look at things from just the number system. And by numbers and the number system, that usually relates to what chords you're playing. But you can also look at things from the scale degree aspect of it. And scale degrees are numbers as well. One moment. So instead of saying C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, I could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, when I'm saying these numbers, I'm saying the scale degree, the number of the note in relation to the scale of what I'm playing. So the first note, second note, third note, fourth note, fifth note, sixth note, seventh note, eighth note. When you're playing chords, usually you are playing an arpeggiated version of the scale, meaning you are skipping around the scale. You are not playing the scale in sequential order in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but you're playing it probably in thirds, like 1, 3, 5, or 2, 4, 6, or 3, 5, 7. Or 4, 6, 8 is also 1. 4, 6, 1, 5, 7, 2, 6, 1, 3, and things of that nature. So usually when you're looking at triads, those just mean 3 notes. 1, 3, 5. You're playing the first note, the third note, and the fifth note. If you're playing the first note of the scale. And that's what I was talking about when I was saying the chord scale earlier. You don't always have to play the first note, third note, and fifth note. You could play the first note, fourth note, fifth note, or first note, second note, fifth note. Or you could not even play 1 through 5. You could take all of those up to 2, 4, 6, so on and so forth. Now that's triads. I'm only playing 3 notes at a time. Now, if I were to add more than just those 3 notes, and I decided to play 4 notes, that's 1, 3, 5, 1, 1, 3, 5, and then I'm playing this note again, repeated. If I decide to play 1, 3, 5, 7, that will make that a 7th chord. So that's the major iteration of a seventh chord. That is a major 7 because I'm playing the 1, the major 3 in the scale, the 5, and the major 7. Now you can manipulate all of these numbers by lowering them, and it'll change the mode, or it'll change the actual scale that you're playing, so that you're not just playing the major scale like C major. One of the most common manipulations that people hear is major to minor. So usually an easy way to manipulate the major scale to make it minor, you can look at it 2 different ways, and we're talking about the natural minor. You can look at it from a parallel perspective or a relative perspective. For now, I'm going to talk about parallel because it makes explaining the numbers in chords easier. So to make a major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, also being 1. A minor scale, you will lower the 3rd note, the 6th note, and the 7th note. To make a major scale minor, you will lower the 3rd note, the 6th note, and the 7th note. So instead of it being 1, 2, 3, that was 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. Instead of 6, 7, now it's flat 6, flat 7. And I'll play the whole thing. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. If I were to play that as a triad, or to play a chord out of that, it'd be the 1st note, flat 3rd, and the 5th. If I wanted to add the 7, remember I said I just lowered the 7, so now it's the 1st note, flat 3, 5, flat 7. And that's pretty. And then, of course, you can invert these, so it doesn't have to always be in the order of 1, 3, 5, 7, but it could be in the order of 1, 5, 7, 3 being at the top instead of 3 being right there. And that's how you learn so many different chord variations, because this is still C minor, that's still C minor. That's major. Nope. Minor. That's minor right there, and so on and so forth. So it's like it can get very deep. One way that I like to really just process music, though, to keep it simple instead of making it deep, I have 3 ways of looking at everything. Or 1 way, but 3 steps of looking at everything. Whenever I'm practicing, whenever I'm learning a song, whenever I'm just jamming, I think about it like this. Learn the melody. Melody is king. Single notes. Learn the melody. Learn every single note of what you're playing. So if you decided to play, what's a simple song? If you decided to play Ain't No Sunshine. I just taught that song to one of my students not too long ago. That song is very simple. That is the melody. Then it repeats. Yep. Then you go to the next part. Most people will hear that and be like, cool, I learned the song. But did you? Did you learn what the letter names are? Did you know that it was a E, G, A, E, and D? Do you know other places to find an A, like the open A string, or the 5th fret here, or take it up an octave, or take it up an octave, or find it all over the guitar? Because then you're able to connect the dots of where's the fretboard going, because all of these notes always move in a sequential order that you're never going to forget once you learn your chromatics. So step 1, learn the melody. This is always my step 1 for the 3 things of how to figure out what I'm playing. Step 1, learn the melody. That means learn it in its entirety. Learn the song, like learn the notes of the song, the letter names of the notes, and figure out every single place that you could play it on the guitar. Then learn the harmony. So for that song, that's a minor chord, minor, major. And I'm playing all of those in E shape. So I just did bar chord, or open E minor, bar chord major. Switch up the shape. I could do all of those in open strings. Or I could figure out what shape makes the most sense. Like I could take it up here. Then I can manipulate the chord. Instead of always playing the same triad, I could make it a 9th chord, an 11th chord, a 13th chord. I'm saying? So learn the melody, step one. Learn the melody, learn all the different places you can play it. Learn the harmony, learn what chords are being used and all the different shapes you can play them. Play those shapes of those chords. Because once you learn chord shapes, you never forget them. Now that you know E, you know that's still an E shape. Oop. That is still an E shape. But I'm playing A because I just took the E shape that I played down here, E minor, up until I was playing A. So learn all the different shapes. It changes your whole life. So step one, learn the melody. Step two, learn the harmony. Step three, learn the style. In what style was this song written? Do they use a lot of slides? Do they use a lot of bends? Do they use a lot of hammers? Do they even do any of that stuff whatsoever? Is it an acoustic song? Are they even picking? Are they using their fingers? Like, what are they doing when they're playing this song? Learn the style so that you can genuinely understand it and play it the most efficiently way. And when you're doing this and when you're taking those 3 steps to learning a song, genuinely, you wouldn't fully learn a song. You'll never finish. You'll always be learning. And that's technically what you need to do whenever you are picking up a craft. Like, you never want to feel like you completely mastered it. You always want to feel like you're still gaining new insight every single time that you pick up the instrument. Because if you felt like you mastered it, you're going to get very bored with it and it's going to feel very stagnant. So with this 3-step methodology, I continue to learn every single time, especially as I'm jamming with others or I'm learning a new song or I'm just practicing. So keep that in mind. I feel like I've been skipping around on questions. I low-key really like shell pink guitars. I wanted a pink Fender Jaguar. Yeah, I bought this guitar. I was gravitated to it. I went to this store out in Chamblee, Georgia. It's like about 30, 40 minutes away from me. And I went to that store like 4 or 5 times. I played on a lot of guitars there. This one, though, I picked up like every single time that I went to the store. And my impression never changed. I always thought it was the best guitar I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? And it had all the prices, or it had very decent price, $499. It had all the stats. Like, this is a Telemaster. It looked like a Jazzmaster because of the body, but it has a Telecaster pickup, as you see, Telecaster rig. Like, this isn't the standard Jazzmaster. Jazzmasters have a whammy bar. This doesn't have a whammy bar. And it has that Telecaster headstock. So this is actually a Telemaster. It has a Fender neck, a Squier body, Duncan Broadcaster pickups. It's a great guitar. I love this guitar. But I do have other electric guitars. I see Anthony asked that. Let me show you. Oh. I bought this for my class as a giveaway. If they guessed all the picks that was in a container, they would have got this for free. Nobody guessed it. So now it's staying in the classroom. Granted, we're on summer vacation, so I'm not just going to leave it at the school over the summer because technically I bought it. This is a Jackson. I want to say it's the J2 series or something like that. Primarily used in rock music. I don't play a lot of rock music, so it's just be sitting in the corner. But I am going to take it back to my classroom and allow my students to play around with it. And I also have one other electric guitar in the living room, and I have an acoustic. But give me a moment to grab that. Actually, I'm looking at a whole nother electric in the room. One moment, y'all. I'm back. That didn't take that long, did it? Hopefully y'all didn't leave. The Jackson is sick, Sam? Or are you talking about the Telemaster? They don't make the Telemaster anywhere. That's part of the reason why I also got it. I have this Squier. This Squier is like my go-to guitar. I play it everywhere. It's easy to carry around. It's lightweight. Fender Squier, Sunburst Orange. Beautiful guitar. Actually, the person who gave me this guitar just passed away like 2-3 days ago. He was my inspiration to play guitar while I was in college. He was, I want to say, 4 years older than me. Was studying guitar already at the same university that I was playing at. And my guitar that I just bought got stolen. He saw my frustrations and knew that I needed a guitar to continue my studies because he was studying guitar as well. He was like, man, I got an extra guitar. I'll give you one. He gave me this. I've never put it down. So I definitely, I'm very grateful for Jakiri, that was his name, for handing me this guitar. This is my go-to carry around guitar. I don't got a name for it, but I do got a name for the shell pink one. The shell pink one's name is Rosie. I need to clean up this space. Everything's starting to get crowded. Uno momento. Yeah, I don't use this Jackson enough. I've played it maybe about 3-4 times now. So I should probably do more with it. How did I start on guitar? Lessons or independent learning? Independent learning. I never took lessons until 2016, but I've been playing since maybe 2004, 2005. My brother took lessons. Anything he learned, I learned. So I was in the same room as him. Not necessarily while he was taking lessons, but when he was practicing. I'd be like, can I pick up your guitar? Can I play your guitar? And I'd pick it up and he'd show me a thing or two. And I'd play the guitar for like the rest of the day. And he's like, as long as he's not bothering me, I guess I'm good. So I am very grateful for my brother for getting me started on the instrument. And then, like we were around skateboarders. Skateboarders, they be big into stuff like this. So I was into stuff like this. And now I'm a rock star skater dude that doesn't play rock music. But yeah, I got that Jackson on sale. I actually got it from Sam Mash. I don't know if you're familiar with the music store Sam Mash. They closed. They're completely out of, there's no more in existence anymore. So they were having a closing sale and they were just giving away stuff. So I got that one for I want to say $100, which is the reason why I was willing to give it to my students if they won the giveaway. Nobody won though. So it's just going to be the class guitar. Anybody could use it if they want to. That is me explaining B minor 7 and showing you my other electric guitars. How did I get started? Lessons are independent. I told you about that. What gig am I most excited for this summer? This summer is already over in my mind. I don't even remember what gigs that I had. I had a gig today. That was smooth. Yeah, I don't know if I'm really excited for any gig in particular, if that makes sense. I just like having the ability to play as often as I can, even going on these live streams or going outside into the streets of Atlanta at the park and playing there. I find a lot of value and joy in doing stuff like that. So, so, um, if that answers that question, I hope you're still on here to even hear the answer to your question, Kev. But yeah, Power Chords 101. Let's talk about the less theoretical aspects of it. 2 notes, really, to play this. You can get away with 3 fingers. It's not 3 notes, it's 3 fingers. You're repeating a note when you play this. But imagine you put your finger down on 1 fret, like the 5th fret of the E string. You will put your finger down on the next string 2 frets over. So if you're on the 5th fret, go up to 6, 7. 7th fret of the next string. That is the 7th fret of the A string. 5th fret of E, 7th fret of A. And power chords are used in everything. as I'm doing this, I'm keeping the same shape the entire time. I told you 5 and 7. That's a movable shape. I could take it up 6 and 8, 7, 9, 8, 10. My math started math and I had to start thinking about numbers. 1 and 3. And all of this stems from my E shape. If you know your E chord, take off your index finger, E minor, only play the low pitch 3 strings or just 2 strings. But if I wanted to add that top note, which would be the 4th string, the 6th string, 5th string, and 4th string. If I wanted to add that top note, it's the same note as the low note. We call those octaves. And it just adds more bite when you are listening to it. But power chords are used in everything from rock music to Adele, pop music. We could have had it all, rolling in the deep. You've had my heart inside of your hands, but you played it to the beat. All power chords. Even Thundercat. That man. Not Dragon Ball Durag. What's the name of that one? If y'all know the name of this song. Them Changes. That's the name of that song. Thundercat. Nobody move. There's Bud on the floor. And I can't find the heart. Power chords. I love power chords. They're like the guitar chord. If there's anything you learn on guitar, power chords will get you by. Like when I first started learning guitar during my independent study, before I was really taking lessons or anything, I would just turn on the radio and I just play all of the low notes to every song that I heard. Oh. Let's say that was the song. That's Party Like a Rock Star by some hip hop artists. I just make that power chorus. And then that's the song right there. Seems bigger than what it is. I just took one note and made it power chords. Even though I'm not really playing the chords. If I was to play chords, you know what I'm saying? That would go to minor, to major. Then this will probably be major. Totally dude, party like a rock, party like a rock star, party like a rock, party like a rock star, party like a rock, party like a rock star, party like a rock, totally dude. Yeah. Power chords 101. How often am I using hybrid picking? And do I apply the cage system consciously while playing? Or think of it as a mere theoretical concept separate from playing and soloing? I apply the cage system all the time. How often do I use hybrid picking? Not enough. I feel like if I were going to use my fingers, I'm going to use my fingers. If I were going to use my pick, I'm going to use a pick. Now, I do like to pretend I have a pick in my hand. So there will be times where... Gotta go over here, that way you can see my fingers. Like if I were playing Isn't She Lovely earlier. There's times where I'll go from the fingerstyle approach, where I'm using my fingers independently. And then there's times where I'll pretend like I have a pick. I feel like it's harder for me to do that in hybrid picking because then that only allows me to have M, A, and my pinky, C, if I decided to use hybrid picking instead of just using a pick. Versus if I were to use my fingers, I'd already have 4 fingers and not have to get used to using 4 fingers, such as these 2 being 1 finger and then these 3 being separate independent entities. I'd rather just use my entire hand as its own entity. So I don't use hybrid picking enough. And when I'm playing, I think about the cage system not necessarily as a system of me knowing this is a C, this is a C, this is a C, this is a C, this is a C. But I think about it in regards to me knowing the shapes of what chord am I playing. Because with the cage system, knowing this A shape, it helps me think that the third note is at the top. And by third note, I mean third note of the scale, because I was playing C. And the top note is E, unless I was playing the high-pitched E string. Then the 5th note is at the top. It just helps me manipulate the chords when it's time to manipulate them. So if I know I need to play a minor chord, I know where the 3rd is to lower it. Same thing if I'm trying to think about this in this case of 7th chords. I know where the octave is to lower it. Same case when I'm thinking about all of these things. Like usually whenever I'm playing a chord, I'm thinking about what chord shape am I playing from, and usually chord shapes stem directly from your caged shapes because there's only so many shapes that are out there, and usually they are related to another one of some sort. Just like how I said the power chord is related to E minor shape. Me trying to hide my fingers. That's E minor right there, and that's a power chord. So I definitely think about the cage system. It's not really a theoretical concept separate from playing, but it is playing. Once you're able to truly process where your notes are and what notes you are playing, then technically all these systems are what you're thinking about. It doesn't matter if you're using the cage system or if you're using like a pentatonic system or if you're using my system where you learn the notes, learn the melody, learn the style. Like these are just concepts, but they're all geared to help you understand the overarching picture. And the big overarching picture is, how do I connect the dots? So if you're able to connect the dots, whether you're using the cage system or whether you're using any other system, you're still technically applying that system consciously in order to play. The conscious aspect of it is really just, where is your mindset to processing what are you playing, to processing how did we connect the dots of what did I just play in the back to coming to what I'm currently playing. But yep. How am I resting my hand on the guitar? I seem to hit the wrong string when playing. How am I resting my hand on the guitar? I seem to hit the wrong string when picking, like my hand floats around too much or holding the pick wrong. How am I resting my hand on the guitar? I would say it depends on what guitar I'm playing or what I'm playing. I wish you could see my full body. Gonna back up some, but now you don't see this side. I'm gonna sit at an angle. I'm gonna turn this, boom, just like that. I'm gonna continue to turn it some more, just like that. Sometimes I'll rest my wrist on the bridge. Now this is a stationary bridge. It's a bridge that's stuck to the guitar. It's not floating. So if I rest my wrist on the bridge, it doesn't affect the tuning of the bridge, or it doesn't affect the tuning of the strings in any way. Sometimes you want your hand to be in the way because then it's palm muting. Sometimes you hit the wrong string when picking, like your hand floats around too much or holding the pick wrong. I don't think people value exercises enough. Like, exercises genuinely were made for you to get more fluent. It may not sound the most musical, but it's made for you to get more fluent. One of my favorite exercises that I always play is the chromatic exercise. In this one, I'm literally just playing 4 fingers at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And not only am I practicing my left hand, not only am I practicing my left hand movement, but I'm practicing my right hand. I'm literally alternate picking down, up, 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 down, up. I could do that same thing with downstrokes. Same thing with upstrokes. I don't know if you see me going up. I don't know if y'all are able to see the difference between downs and ups as I'm doing it. Maybe if you slow down the video, like slow down the playback speed when you rewatch this later down the line. If you decide to rewatch it later down the line, then you'll be able to see it. So, but yeah, sometimes I let my hand float on the bridge. Sometimes my hand floats to the body. Sometimes my fingers are touching the body. I feel like people say there's a right way and a wrong way to doing it, but whatever is comfortable. Don't get me wrong, you're going to be building a habit by doing certain things, and you don't want to build too many bad habits. But the biggest habit that you want to build is finding comfort in what you're doing. So don't necessarily say, it sounds like it's buzzing, or it sounds like it's doing this and it sounds horrible, and you get mad and put down the guitar. Like, just continue to find your fine-tune adjustments, get 1% better each day, and you're going to just gradually get to the point of where you're going to find success. So don't trip on it if you're pressing the wrong strings or if your fingers are on the wrong strings. You'll get better over time. I definitely have messed up a lot of performances, a lot of gigs, and a lot of practices by doing stuff like that. But if I let it bother me too much, then I just, you know what I'm saying, not be where I'm at today. But yeah. Do I like the acoustic guitar? Sure. The acoustic guitar ain't bad. It's an acquired taste. A lot of people like the acoustic guitar, but I like effects. Like if I wanted to get gritty, then I would get gritty. You know what I'm saying? And acoustic guitars don't always have effects. You would have to get an acoustic guitar that has a plug-in jack for you to plug in, or you'd have to get some type of assistance like this. This is a pickup that I could put into the sound hole of an acoustic guitar in order for me to actually make my acoustic guitar sound electric. And it gives me the effects, but the feel of an acoustic guitar is not the same feel of an electric guitar. Electric guitars strings are just lighter naturally. Even if you buy extra light strings for an acoustic guitar, it doesn't feel like an electric guitar. Plus the body is bigger, it's just bulkier. It's a couple reasons why I don't like it, but I do like the sound of it when the sound of it is needed. But I still like me to have a little bit of delay and reverb so that it just sounds a little more lush and it doesn't sound as dry when you play a note and it just ends. Like that is just so bland to me. Like I'd rather it continue to float off into the distance, if that makes sense. So yeah, I appreciate the condolences for the homie, the big bro that passed away. And yeah, that Jackson is sick. My students would enjoy it more than I would because I do have a lot of metalhead students. So yeah, continue to try those methods. I should come down to Southwest Florida. About every other restaurant around you has live music performing nightly. A lot of solo or two-man acts. Good place for working musicians. Southwest Florida. Actually, one of my favorite guitar influencers, his name is Gabe Flo. If y'all decide to look him up, he's on all platforms underneath the phrase Gabe Flo. He's from Florida. I want to say maybe Miami. He's also a guitar educator just like me, where he's teaching the youth how to play guitar in a public school system. They seem like high schoolers. So he's from Florida. I'm pretty sure he's doing a lot of things out there in Florida. Usually whenever I travel, though, for vacation and I'm taking my instrument, I'm not trying to get gigs. I'm just trying to practice for fun. Now, I have played in Miami before, but it was a one-night turnaround trip. I couldn't imagine staying in a different city I could imagine staying in a different city for some time just to play and allow that to be my source of income while I eat and like sleep at a hotel or sleep on a friend's couch or something. We'll see where life takes me, but that is a dream of mine. Excuse me, you didn't just hear that. But that is a dream of mine to test the waters and just travel with my instrument. So I'll add Southwest Florida to my bucket list. What specific city are you in? How you say your name? Achilles? What specific city? What do I feel like playing? I think I'm gonna add that to the list. For this upcoming semester, I am going to add an advanced ensemble to my school. Where the goal is to have a group of students, probably 20 students or less in the advanced ensemble, and they are going to perform 5 times a semester. And I'm imagining different set lists for almost each performance. They will pretty much be learning maybe like 25 songs during that semester. And if they're an advanced group, that's not too much. Usually guitar songs aren't too challenging because it's just the main riff repeated over and over again, unless you're playing like the melody, or it has a lot of different sections instead of just an A section or a B section. So it wouldn't be too challenging to pull off, but I feel like that would be a good one. That song that I was just playing is Frankie Beverly and Maze. We Are One. We are one. I keep hitting that open string. Yeah, that's gonna be the challenge. I don't even know how to play that. How would I? Oh. I like songs that have an A section and a B section. And I try to think about that whenever I'm playing like different jams. I don't know how I feel about that F sharp. I'd rather play that chord instead. But if I was playing power chords, Tom Mish, French Kiwi Juice, Flo, Nate Jelly, Ruben Wan, Melanie Faye, Jubu Smith, Jairus Mosey. Who are my influences? The Donut Doctor, or whatever his name is. It's a few other people. It's hard to think of them as soon as they come to my name, as soon as they come to my head. But yeah. Hello. How are you? That's good. Those are my primary influences, though. The first ones that come to my head. Are you a guitarist as well? Who do you listen to? And do you listen to R&B? Jeff Beck, B.B. King, great guitarists, literally great guitarists. They're known for being the greats. I don't know if I'd ever live up to the level of greats. I don't even know if I would want to live up to the level of greats. Like, I feel like that's just so much pressure, so much acknowledgement, so much recognition. You never know what could come from that, though. Like, imagine your name being the name associated with a particular task. Like, that happens on a micro level, but on a macro, like the world knows Jeff Beck. The world knows B.B. King. Vibing to the tone. I love it, man. Appreciate you. That's up a half step. Taking it back. It's funny how you can be jamming all by yourself and catch all that magic note riff, and then you spend the rest of the night trying to find. Yep. That is literally all I do all day long. I'll play a lot of random things, and I'm like, wait a minute, what was that? And then I'm like, oh, I wish I actually knew what I did, and that wasn't accidental, but that was intentional. But it's cool. Oftentimes, we find magic when we do stuff like that. I actually wrote a few songs off of accidents, if that makes sense. Like this bass line. Was an accident. That was one of my favorite bass lines. If you want to listen to the full song, it's on streaming platforms, even YouTube. It's called Stirred. Thank you so much for the description. This actually, the outro of the song was definitely a mistake. I didn't know what chord that was, but I loved it. I liked how the high-pitched E string, usually the highest note played on the guitar, was actually second highest note. Second highest note. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night. That was an accident. That slide, that was beautiful. Anyway, though, I have been on this live for about 2 hours now, and I'm hungry and I'm tired. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. If you like what you've heard, please like, comment, subscribe. Continue to make these lives go up and up and up and up. If you want to learn guitar, leave a comment, ask a question. I'll probably reply to the comment to let you know more details about it. You can even feel free to email me. I could shoot you over some resources like that checklist that I showed y'all in the middle of the live, which is like standard guitar knowledge that everybody should learn. So just let me know if y'all are interested or not. I love you all. I appreciate you all for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.